Hi, and welcome to the Port of Long Beach PhotoWorks in association with the Art Council for Long Beach. My name is Brice Bischowiął, and we're going to be talking about lighting your photography today. And one of the things that I really love about lighting in photography is that it is fundamental to photography as a medium. It is literally what makes a photograph a photograph. So to be unaware of what light is doing in an image would be a very big disservice to your understanding of photography as a whole. What this workshop is geared to do is to pick up your knowledge right where it left off. You are in full understanding of your camera system. All of these settings should be something that you are able to dial into your camera. What you do next is apply that knowledge to the world around you, and lighting is that world. So what we're going to kind of do here is go step by step into how to look at light and what it does in an image. Let me first introduce myself. My name's Brice Bischowiął. I'm born and raised in New Orleans. I've been teaching for 6 years at the Cal State University Long Beach and Cal State University of Fullerton. And I'm also an artist that uses photography. My work is in the collections of the Los Angeles County Museum of Art and the Orange County Museum of Art, among others. So when I use light in my own photography, it's really about thinking of light as form and shape. And I define that in a variety of different ways using special effects in my work. It is really interesting to see what light can do and the potential that light has in photography. So I want to ask you, really think about this. What kind of light are you? Are you warm, radiant light that's coming from a sunset? Or are you buzzing, cool light that's coming from some fluorescent bulbs that are overhead? Or are you bright, illuminating light, describing every detail that's in front of you? Well, the reason why I'm personifying light in this way is that it is a key way to emote in an image. So picking and choosing these personifications is something that'll help you dictate style and tone in your work. And you could have a trademark. So please follow me on this adventure as we're diving really deep into the different ways that light can be controlled in photography. So light is all around us. And it is our job as photographers to recognize and acknowledge the light that is in our world. Light can be defined by specific qualities. You're looking at the brightness of light, the contrast of light, and the color of light. Take, for example, this environment that I'm illuminated in now. This is artificial lighting. As you can see, I'm being illuminated by 3 different panels in front of me. They're all pointing at a very specific angle to illuminate me from above. And there's also a hair light that's behind me here. All of these lights are casting not only color, but also shadows. And if we look at the different shadows that these lights are casting, you can tell and ask yourself, are these lights casting hard shadows? Are these lights casting soft shadows? And that is contrast. Also, when you think about kelvins, what we learned about before, kelvins emit color in light, and it can be defined through either being cool, neutral and balanced, or warm. So thinking about the scopes of these qualities of light, you want to be aware of the direction and the source at all times. It's almost our job as photographers to be moths that are attracted to light, that want to learn more about it. The other thing that we want to be really aware of is that as photographers, we are decision makers when it comes to light. We make these critical decisions about the size of our light source, the types of reflection that are in our scene, and how we control that, as well as the angle of the lights in relationship to the subject. So let's deconstruct some lighting in some photographs. As you can see from this example, we have an object that's placed on a tabletop in a studio environment. What we can tell by looking at the shadows in this photograph is that there's two lights coming from different angles to the subject. There's one from the top left, casting this hard shadow, and then there's another coming from the top right, casting a feathered soft shadow. The other thing we can evaluate is the length of these shadows. This shadow is a lot shorter than this longer shadow. It means that this light on the left is more overhead above the subject, and that this light is more parallel and grounded with the subject on the tabletop. We can also investigate highlights and see what kind of equipment the photographer might have used in this image. We can see this specular highlight here indicates that this is coming from a strobe light with no modification whatsoever. If we look at this specular highlight over here on the right, it's larger and geometric. So that could be an indication that the photographer placed a softbox to diffuse the light, and as you can tell, that is exactly the case. We have a softer shadow below the subject. Now, I want you to think about your own photo and see if you can do the same deconstruction to your images. If we look at this example of my headshot, you can see that this is a scene that's illuminated by natural window light. And you can see that it's coming in from the left of the subject and casting across the subject's left side of the face and onto just a little part of the right-hand side. Now, doing this to every photograph is important because it builds a muscle memory of how to deconstruct light. In this photograph, you can see that there's only one specular highlight in the subject's eyes. That means that only one light was used to illuminate this portrait. And the fall off from highlight to shadow is an indication that there is a diffuser on the light that is illuminating this subject. So take a look at some photographs that you really are impressed by and deconstruct what is happening in them so you can replicate the look. Well, would you look at all this equipment we have here? This is a range, eclectic mix, I would say, of different qualities of studio equipment that you can invest in, from the most economical route to something that's more professional. Both have their pros and their cons, and we're going to talk a little bit about each. So things that I think are critical to any studio is a backdrop, and a good backdrop that you can rely on so that you can quickly change out different types of not only textures, colors, and surfaces. And when you think about the DIY route, you want to think of upcycling different fabrics and textures that you find in the world and bringing them into your studio to use them as a backdrop. The other thing that I think is a must-have in a studio is a light stand. Now, however many light stands you have dictate how many lights you can use in your setup. So having 2, if not 3 or more light stands in your studio are helpful. these will quickly raise and lower and change the direction of your light on the fly. The other thing I think is important are spring clamps. And these spring clamps, you can see we're using 1, 2, and 3 of them for this setup that we have here. Also some tape to tape things down, and a flagging card to block light if needed. The other thing that we have as a must is a reflector, and these come in a variety of different surfaces. This one has got a white face as well as a silver face, so that you can change the quality of light that's reflecting off of the surface. Now let's think about the professional route for strobe lighting. We have these B2 Pro Photo Power Pack and strobe heads. These will give you this really intense illumination in your photography, and it will allow for your ISO to be low. It will allow it to be at 100, and it'll still give you flexibility with your aperture so that you can get all of the details in a scene without sacrificing quality. Now, this setup is more expensive. If you want to go a more economical route, you have a continuous light, which is an E27 bulb. And if you have 2 of these in a scene, it will give you enough illumination to light a moving subject. Now, you have to have the lights very close to the subject in order to get the shutter speed to be low enough for it to stop motion, but you're sacrificing a little quality with an ISO being at 400 or higher with continuous lighting. Now, you always want to know how the lighting is occurring in your scene, and an incident light meter will give you that. And for me, I like to determine lighting ratios with an incident light meter, seeing the difference of what the exposure is on one side of the face versus another side of the face. Also, you want to pay close attention to maybe transforming your studio into a wireless situation with an air remote. And this air remote gives you the ability to do just that. It goes right into the hot shoe, and it coordinates with these Pro Photo lights so that when the exposure is taken, the actual flash goes off. And the last bit of equipment that we have here, which can be used in addition to and also separately from the other lights that are on the table, is a speed light. And so this speed light connects to the hot shoe of your camera, and it syncs with the exposure. As you take it, the flash will fire. And many people don't really like using these speed lights because it gives you harsh, direct light that is in continuity with the lens. But all you have to do is think of creative ways to use a light like this, and often people point it up and use different modifiers so that you can have a less harsh effect when using a speed light. So there you have it. There's a lot of different ways that you can spend money by building a studio, but hopefully you can understand the ways in which you can start investing now. So as you can see, things have changed a little bit here in the studio. Things are a little darker, and we have this studio set up. No, we're not filming a horror movie, and this is not a magic act. This is all for the idea of showing what one light can do when illuminating a subject. Now, when thinking about this, you really want to be aware of the three-dimensionality that you are expressing through light. You're translating three-dimensional space into 2 dimensions when you make a photograph. So light allows you to define form, and we're going to go through the basic building blocks of how to do that with our lighting setup. So we're going to dim the lights here in the studio. So with this modeling light turned on, remember this is not a strobe light, yet a continuous light as it's seen here. And what we're demonstrating on the subject, I want you to notice the three-dimensional way that the light is affecting the face here. And with this type of side lighting, what you're going to actually enhance are features and different ways that the face kind of takes shape. And it is going to bisect a line right through the middle of the subject, dividing it between the highlights and the shadows. And if you think about what this subject is looking towards in a lighting ratio, you can see that there's so much more light on this side compared to this side. Now, thinking about this more, we can take this light off and bring it around to the front. Now, with front lighting, you can see that the illumination is more constant over the subject's face, and there's not a lot of harsh shadows to speak of because it's pretty much mimicking the shape and dimensionality of a face. But we do see variation in shadows as we're bringing the light up, and going to the top light position, you can see how this is enhancing the subject. Basically, what we're seeing are enhancements in cheekbones, eye sockets, and chin lines. Also, the shadow underneath the nose is very pronounced. So this can also be added for dramatic effect, but also it is most flattering at this position. So as you're thinking about different ways that you can position your light, remember top, front, side, and then also bottom lighting here. And you can see this gives you almost a campfire effect and is often used to fill in shadows rather than be the main light in a lighting scenario. Now I'm going to place the light over here on the tabletop to demonstrate how light actually spreads from a source. And this is really important to understand because what we would assume would be that light would be going straight out from this light in straight lines onto the subject. But in fact, it doesn't. It's almost going 180 degrees from the source of the light. So understanding this key concept will help you in not only placing your light, but also picking what kind of size your light should be in relationship to your subject. Now, the other thing that we understand and can demonstrate with one light is that obviously the closer you move the light to the subject, the brighter the light is going to be and your exposure is going to change. Now, there's a little bit of math behind this, but there's a law called the inverse square law. And basically what that states is that the change of light between this point closest to your subject and this point away from your subject will change the stops of light most dramatically. And then when you pull away even further, at these points, the change of stops of light, they're not going to matter as much as if you were closer. So thinking about this, you can position your lights and change them in relationship to your subject so that you can just express different forms and make your photography that much more dimensional. So here we are back with our setup, and now we're going to look into standard lighting patterns that are commonly used in studio portrait photography. And these lighting patterns are meant to create different looks and illuminate the face in expressive ways. So the lighting patterns that we're going to cover are broad, short, butterfly, and split. So these are the four most basic lighting patterns, and you can achieve these with just a simple one light setup. So let's dim the lights. So with the lights on, you can see that this is very similar side lighting that we demonstrated before, but the light is higher and pointed down towards the subject. And this is something of a lighting pattern known as split lighting. And so when we're talking about what the effects of split lighting are, you can actually see in the model how features are defined more dramatically. And the definition and three-dimensionality of the face is actually enhanced by this quality of light. This is very dramatic and will bring a lot of shadows to the face. Now, this lighting ratio isn't exactly desirable because we have such a dramatic difference between the highlights and the shadows here. What we can do to kind of help the exposure is introduce a reflector. So I'm going to come around and introduce the reflector to this split lighting pattern. And all I'm going to do is come to one side and then play an angles game until I see the actual effects of the reflector in the subject. And so there we're diminishing the harshness of the actual lighting ratio, and even though we're still exposing for the highlights, this will give us a more desirable exposure. So moving on from here, we're going to look at how we can see short lighting. And short lighting looks at the subject by pulling the light back behind the subject at a 45-degree angle. And then it's a little collaboration with the subject. Now, all we have to do is turn the subject in relationship to the light. And this is the short side of the face. This is the broad side of the face. And looking here, we can see that the highlight side is not as prevalent as the broader side, which is in shadow. So for this specific lighting pattern, we would expose for the shadows over here and let the highlights kind of fall off. Now, a subtle variation of short lighting is just positioning the subject just subtly different in relationship to this backlight. And let me show you what I mean. If I bring this subject over a little bit more, you can see that now we have a little bit of light that's cast on the cheekbone opposite the kind of middle of the face. This is known as Rembrandt lighting. And with Rembrandt lighting, it's named after the famous painter, you can see that this adds dimensionality to the shadowed side of the face, bringing that extra kind of geometric illumination over to the left. So next we're going to look at what we can do for broad lighting, and that's moving the light at a 45 in front of the subject, and then asking them to turn away from that light and illuminate the broad side of their face. So what we can see here is that the broad side of the face is being illuminated and the short side of the face is in shadow. So this is broad lighting. And what we can do to just help this scenario out, just like we did with split lighting, we could introduce a reflector and come over here and also catch the light in our reflector and just bounce it back over the subject. So here you can see the before, the reflector's in place, and then here after the reflector's in place. And notice the difference in the ratio of light as the reflector is introduced. So I know there's a lot of moving parts to any studio situation, but this is a collaboration. So we've changed the studio yet again, and this time we're looking at 2 and 3 light setups. So what we have here are 1 light, 2 light, and our subject. So let's dim our lights and see exactly what's happening to this lighting setup. Now, looking at this lighting pattern, you can tell that it is a broad lighting pattern. The broad side of the face is in highlight, and then the short side of the face is in shadow. Now, this is less dramatic than our 1 light scenario demonstrating broad lighting just moments ago. And what you want to consider when adding a second light is how much it will actually affect your shadowed areas in your photograph. So thinking about terms here, we can define the function and role of both of these lights. The brighter light, this is known as the main light. And then the secondary light that fills in the shadows, this is known as the fill light. So as you can see, you have a lot of flexibility and a lot of choices when trying to kind of get to a more idealized lighting scenario, just building off of what you already know. So there's sometimes when you want to add more lights and more lights and more lights. When are those opportunities going to present themselves, and for what reason would you add more lights than just these 2? Well, I can say that looking at the backdrop, we have run the risk of the subject blending into the background. So it would be really nice to put a light on that backdrop so that we can have tonal separation between the background and the subject, making the subject pop. The other thing that would be nice, and this is all about composition and tonal separation as well, would be to have a contour or a hair light on this subject. So let's set those up now and see what the results are. So we have 2 additional lights, making this a 4 light setup. And we're going to look at the effects and what is actually going to change in our setup by using these lights. So next we're going to turn on the background light. And as you can see, the background light illuminates the background as is in the name, but it also creates tonal separation between the subject and the background. Also, thinking about the overall composition, if we were to tightly crop on the subject, what is illuminated in the background would actually be rendered as a subtle gradient from black to a darker gray, creating a really interesting dynamic in the shot. So next we're going to look at our hair light, and let's turn that on now. And with the hair light, you can see that this acts as a contouring device, actually bringing out more dimensionality in the structure of the face. So let's see that one more time. Let's turn it off and then notice the hair and how that is in shadow, and then let's turn that back on. And now look at the glow that's coming from the hair and the contour now. It's really making that 3-dimensional expression of form. And then going back to the backdrop, let's turn that one off. So now you can see that the backdrop is really dark now, creating less dimensional space in the shot. And let's turn that one back on. And there you go. And I recommend working like this with continuous lights, turning one off, turning another on, and seeing exactly what each light is doing in your scene. Imagine you're a carver. Behind you would be a table full of chisels, but instead of carving stone, you'd be carving light with these tools. And each of them do something subtly different with light, whether bouncing, shaping, diffusing or focusing it to create a more satisfying photograph. So let's go through a couple of these one by one, and I can talk a little bit about what the function of each one is. The first one here is the softbox. This is an octabox because it's 8-sided, but it's also a softbox. And imagine your light being connected here and how much larger the surface area of the light is made by the softbox. If you've ever been behind the scenes, and I'm sure not many have had the experience too, of a car photo shoot, the softboxes are bigger than the car because the object that they're photographing has to have an equivalent to the light that's shining on it. So this inside has a double diffuser system, not one but 2 diffusers of light, breaking those waves of light into many different directions and creating softer indirect light. Now, thinking about flagging and restricting light, we have these 3 modifiers here. First, we have the barn doors, which go on top of the strobes or continuous lights, and you can move them to flag or restrict the light. This is especially useful if you find that your light is bleeding into the backdrop and you just want to change that barn door to flag that light and restrict it from doing just that. And then you have a grid. This is a panel grid. And remember how we talked about our spread of light before. We are restricting light with this grid because it wants to go in 180 degrees from the source. But what this does is actually concentrates it and shoots it in front of the light in a specific direction. And depending on how many grids are in the honeycomb system, it'll give you a different restricting effect on your light. And then there's the good old fashioned flag. This restricts light just by placing it in relationship to your subject. So you can actually cut light down and really control where the light is going. And you notice that this is a matte black surface, so it's not going to be bouncing the light back and forth across the studio. Some other modifiers to consider, we've already covered the reflector, and this diffuses subtly, and people kind of overlook this fact about the reflector. It diffuses subtly and it bounces the light back into and to fill areas of shadow. This is a 2-sided filter, 2-sided diffuser, one with a silver side and one with a warm side, which will bounce warm or cool light back into your subject. And this also doubles as a straight up diffuser. So you can use it to, if you're working on natural light outside, you can put this between your subject and the sun, and it would diffuse that light really well. And last but not least, we have colored gels. And yeah, these are really fun to use, and you can be very expressive with color in relationship to putting one color on the key light, one color on the fill light, and seeing how they mix in space and surface in the photo. So as you can see, there's just as many choices for modifiers as they are for number of lights and positions of lights. And it's all up to you what you do with these tools to create the effect that's uniquely yours. So thinking about how we can build off of what we've learned already, let's talk a little bit about natural lighting and portraiture. So when we're thinking about going outside and making a portrait, one of the biggest things that we have to consider is the sun. The sun will cast harsh shadows because it is relatively small in the sky and it will be shooting those rays of light and making hard shadows on your subject. Now, we can control light of the sun not by moving it, we can't do that, but we can plan on what time of day we are actually going to shoot in. So thinking about evening hours that are where the sun is lower in the sky, we could take advantage of that position of light and think, well, we have our position. How can we affect the shadows in our subject to really bring out an even lit portrait? So to do that, we just have to add some modifiers to natural light. So to do that, we can bring a reflector into our scene outdoors and then bounce the light like a game of billiards into the subject's face. And if you're doing a shot that's closely cropped, you can have the subject hold the reflector just as I am here. And what's interesting about this is that you're using natural light, but you're also modifying it. Some people also like to use fill flashes or artificial light in addition to this technique to add more dynamic quality of light in their images. So thinking about this, we can also move indoors and use window light. And when I teach this, I often ask people to black out all of the windows in a room except one and put their subject right next to it. And it is a collaboration of positioning, but you can emulate every lighting pattern that we went over previously by positioning your subject in relationship to the window in a unique way. So one of the things as a professional photographer that you run into is how to standardize certain aspects of your workflow. And what I mean by that is just, what is color going to do from shoot to shoot to shoot? And relying on your camera's auto white balance often results in inadequacies in a consistency of color. What your auto white balance does is that each time you make an exposure, your camera is guessing the color each and every time. And this could lead to subtle variations over the course of a photo shoot. So I like to standardize color when I'm shooting in RAW. And it's important to shoot in RAW when doing this, but I introduce a X-Rite color checker into the first exposure of my photo shoot. And I use this key as a guide to standardize in post-processing all of the files that I'm making for that shoot. So you can see here, in post-production, I can grab an eyedropper in Lightroom and select and automatically balance all of the photographs all at once. Now, when thinking about how you can maybe advance your understanding of all of these different concepts that we've covered today, I would recommend that you experience different lighting setups for yourself. Really practice and embed yourself into these situations and learn from the results that you gather. What I like to do is pre-plan my lighting setups, and to do that I use the online lighting diagram creator. And this is an easy to use web application that gives you just a few icons representing the key light, the fill light, any background lights that you might want to use. And you can position these icons in relationship to a subject. So what this allows you to do is preconceive a lighting setup so that you don't have to improvise when you're shooting and you're on set and you have to make it happen. Well, that's it. You know everything there is to know about light. No, not exactly. but you have a really good, solid foundation on where to begin exploring light in your own photography. What I want you to do for homework in association with this workshop is post what kind of light you are. Really think about this, and I'm really looking forward to checking out the results. Part 2 of your homework, I'm asking you to make at least 2 lighting patterns that we covered in this workshop. You can do these lighting patterns with either continuous light, strobe light, or natural light. So I want you to do a minimum of 1 light setup for your homework, but impress me. Do 2 lights, 3 lights, or more. And I'm really looking forward to what you come up with. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk about something that I'm truly passionate about.